Initiation, stylized as In It Asian, was directed by John Berardo. This is his second feature, and it was released a few weeks ago, inspired by one of his previous short films, Dem Banger. Initiation follows a group of college fraternity students who are met with a series of murders taking place around campus after a strange encounter at a frat house party. I wasn't really expecting much from a movie like this at this point in time because these tones of movies come out every single year and there are an abundance of them. It's hard to find a new slasher film in 2021 that still gains the same amount of respect as some of the ones that came out when the slasher genre was at its peak, and I walked out of this one pretty surprised. What do you know? I would consider Initiation as a part of the subgenre that of techno slasher or techno horror slash thriller, and we're seeing it more and more these days as technology develops. This movie is clearly approached at an angle in which it explores the influence of social media, public perception, and also its effect on allegation and victims of sexual assault. With that being said, that side has clearly been put on the forefront for this. Laptops, earbuds, phones, and screen caps pop up every other minute, or when characters are texting each other, the text bubble is shown beside the characters, 3D tracked into the environment as well as the camera maneuvers in the scene. It might be distracting for some. The camera pans left to a mirror and the levitating text box shows up in the mirror as well, and also you might argue how that put an expiration date on the movie where some future audience might not connect to it as well as the contemporary ones, but I didn't really mind it. They clearly planned things around this idea quite thoroughly. However, I do think sometimes they did it so much to a point it lost its meaning or effects because this device is not really used that effectively, because most of these are just used for communication or exposition instead of maybe being used to exploit or to deviate when it comes to the theme, the story, or the plot, which at the end of the day, it felt like a stylistic decision made not motivated by the creative necessity behind it. The cinematography was also done very well. The way they chose their colors throughout the story and how the cameras are placed never felt jarring at all. Some of the day exterior work and lighting and editing in general doesn't ask for attention to itself. Sometimes the pacing could be a little dragged out, scenes and shots linger just a little bit more than you would expect, and for a movie that feels like it should be coming at you every other 5 minutes, there are moments I do think they can probably cut it short or just leave it altogether. The sound design and sound editing is a bit too big for my taste, but I'm really glad that it didn't rely on cheap jump scares too much. Our main lead, Lindsay Lavanchi, who also had a writing credit here, is very good. I find her very watchable, and for the scenes that require more, she delivers, even though I think they're really stretching it by casting a 30-year-old as a frat girl. And the final note on this section is that there's a scene between one of the boys and the swimming coach in the locker room, and that does feel a bit too much. But I think at the end of the day, the deal breaker for me narratively is how the film kind of presents itself. The reason why I was skeptical and not entirely falling into the story world is because of that opening sequence. The first about 10 minutes of the film happening all in this frat house party sets up a very different movie. These hormone-infused college students who just want to fuck anything that moves and don't seem to have a care about the world around whatsoever other than the little screens in front of them. They finally encounter something that they might have to take responsibility for. I thought this movie was a drama at first, taking such a dark subject and shining a light on it through a more contemporary and technological lens that calls out these unspoken sexual assaults and rape culture. And as the filmmakers intended, Initiation was designed to do a gender reversal on the slasher genre, which is inherently a misogynist genre. But the fact the film took a hard turn quite late in the film, we are about 30 minutes in a 90-minute movie when the first hint of slasher or horror genre emerged, and that's when I realized that this was a horror film, making everything they set out to say feel a bit disposable, and it just feels like an afterthought being put as a foreword to a script. Overall, after watching Initiation, I definitely think there's something there. I guess that's why I'm writing this review and making this video right now. I think there's something very interesting here, other than it being a slasher in 2020s. If you're still with the movie by the end when the revelation happened, one that I'm quite torn about, then I think you'll probably definitely enjoy this one. I'm kind of torn on this one. I'm thinking a decent 3 on this. Let me know what you think about Initiation, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Or yeah, next time. Bye.